Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Global Azure session brought to you by Gimme Cloud Talks and sponsored by Captain Hyperscaler. I am Dwayne Netwick. I am your host for this session. And if you're not familiar with Global Azure and this is your first time attending a Global Azure session, Global Azure is an annual event. Usually around the April-May timeframe. This year it's April 18th, 19th, and 20th in 2024. And it is an event by the community for the community. So there are hundreds of Microsoft and Azure user groups across the world that are putting on sessions and events, both in person and virtual. Gimme Cloud Talks is one of them. We are very happy to I think this is our third year doing the event. It's about my fourth or fifth being involved in the event. So very excited to be in this event. And Captain Hyperscaler is actually a sponsor of the event this year. So that's very, very exciting. But with that, I'm very excited to introduce a great speaker and great person, Sucheta. Thank you very much for joining me. And she is going to talk about Microsoft Azure basics and beyond. So we'll turn it over to you, Sucheta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. I appreciate you having me on your Gimme Cloud Talks event for Global Azure. So hello, viewers, and welcome to my session. Here's my topic for Global Azure 2024. It's Azure Basics and Beyond, where we'll do some further learning to help folks get beyond the basics of Azure, setting them up on the path to succeed in their cloud journey. Yes, so thank you, Dwayne, for organizing and hosting this Gimme Cloud Talks event as part of Global Azure 2024, which definitely enables us to, share knowledge pertaining to Azure and help everyone learn and grow. So that's amazing. Thank you. And for our viewers, this is a bit about myself. I work in healthcare IT in the US. I am the manager of an endpoint engineering team. I am a 12 times Microsoft certified professional. I specialize in modern management and enterprise mobility. I leverage Azure and Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager. And my socials are listed here if you'd like to follow me or reach out for technical collaboration. And that's my blog, techcaching.com, which I'm building to share knowledge and learnings about Azure and Intune. All right, so here is the agenda on a very high level. I'm going to spend the first few minutes talking about or kind of taking a bird's eye view of the Azure fundamental learnings. And subsequently, I'll discuss the next steps in advancing your cloud learning journey and how you can move beyond the basics. I guess that's a struggle for some of us out there. And then I'm going to take it from there to elaborate on several important topics within Azure in an effort to extend your knowledge for Azure. And post that, we will review key takeaways and wrap it up. So let's get ready here and let's get started. So in the fundamentals, and I'm referring to the AZ900, like the Azure Fundamentals Learning Path, you likely covered the basics of, Azure cloud concepts, including cloud advantages, different cloud models, like the public, private, and hybrid. And you probably learned about the shared responsibility model. You might have explored cloud service types as well, the IaaS, SaaS, and PaaS, along with perhaps Azure physical infrastructure, Azure management infrastructure, and I'm sure you learned a variety of Azure services. Additionally, you must have been introduced to key concepts like, identity and access management, security, governance, cost management. Then there are several monitoring tools. So reaching that point is definitely an accomplishment. But many people wonder how to advance further in their Azure learning. What's next? It's common to feel stuck after knowing the basics, unsure of how to apply the knowledge or how to work effectively in Azure. And that's what I'm going to help address today. I'll outline the steps to take after, like after you've grasped Azure fundamental concepts. And I'm going to delve into several topics in a little more detail to kind of broaden your understanding and capabilities. So let's get started with getting beyond. And it's important to understand that the fundamentals, as outlined in the skills measured for the AZ900 certification exam, those are primarily conceptual, right? And to advance beyond this, you should dive into specific topic areas that particularly are of interest to you within Azure, depending on which part you want to specialize in. So that's kind of the first thing you should do. And next, you need to get hands-on in the Azure and other related portals and start configuring resources, utilizing services, kind of play around with it. And I feel creating a free Azure account to experiment with can give you crucial hands-on experience. And then to reinforce what you've learned, it's helpful to engage in practical labs, projects, challenges. Microsoft Learn offers interactive learning paths and modules with exercises to hone your skills. And this will help you build a robust understanding of Azure that prepares you for more specialized paths or specialized roles in the future as it pertains to the cloud. In this session in particular, my goal is to get you started with the first couple bullet points here. So let's do that. And I want to show you here what I plan to cover. We are going to dive a bit deeper into the topics that I've listed here. I'm going to expand upon the basic Azure concepts. As you can see, the list covers various areas within Azure, offering learning paths in multiple directions, as the picture rightly illustrates. Throughout this session, as you learn more about these topics, you may decide to follow a specific path or track, unless your goal is to study Azure comprehensively. But note that this list only covers some of the most popular topics, though. It's not all inclusive for Azure. And most people fairly new in IT or new to learning the cloud, they tend to take a holistic approach towards cloud learning due to not having enough background to choose a particular track. However, most others with years of experience on premises know exactly which areas within Azure they want to focus on. So that's kind of the struggle with someone who's new or someone who's just getting started. So it depends on where you're coming from. But this walkthrough today into these topics should help you to get on the path to your cloud journey. So I will get to the crux here. And I'm going to start with Azure's core services and infrastructure. And as part of the core services, what we have is compute, network, and storage, right? Which you would have been gotten introduced to as part of the fundamentals. I'm going to start with Azure Compute. Now, compute can be virtual machines, containers, Azure functions, and so on. But let's talk about virtual machines first, or VMs as we call them. So Azure VMs are the backbone of compute. VMs provide infrastructure as a service. And when we say VM, it is actually a virtual version of CPU, RAM, disk, and network interface. Azure offers a large catalog of predefined first and third party reference VM images in the Azure Marketplace that you can leverage. You can also create your own Windows or Linux VMs instantly. Yeah, you just need to run through the various configuration options available to build a VM based on how you need it to be. And there are different ways in which you can create your virtual machines. You can either do it manually in the portal, or you can use automated methods. Azure offers a range of VM series and sizes, differing in the power and performance that they offer. You probably want to choose a series which is most optimized to the needs of your specific workloads. For instance, in dev test environments, you may only need like an entry-level A series VM for your application. The D series is mostly for general purpose compute, so you need to pick the right one. And you can scale VMs in Azure. The number of VM instances can automatically increase or decrease in response to demand, or you can set it to scale based on a defined schedule. This comprises of horizontal scaling, meaning increasing the number of VM instances, or vertical scaling, meaning bumping up the specifications or the size of a VM. Virtual machine scale sets lets you create and manage a group of identical load balanced VMs. VMSS, as we call it, it automatically deploys a load balancer as well, if needed, to make sure that your resources are being utilized efficiently. So it is recommended to make use of VMSS wherever required for high availability. Virtual machine availability sets are another tool to help you build a more resilient or highly available environment. And availability sets are designed to ensure that VMs can stagger updates and can have varied power and network connectivity, which prevents you from losing all your VMs with a network or power failure. And that's very important to keep your VMs up and running. Availability sets do this by grouping VMs into two ways. It's update domain and fault domain. The update domain, it groups VMs that can be rebooted at the same time. And the fault domain groups your VMs by common power source and network switches. So when you establish VMs for your workloads in the cloud, it is always best practice to implement more than one VM and configure infrastructure redundancy options such as virtual machine scale sets, availability zones, availability sets, and so on, depending on the type of your workload. Some common use cases of virtual machines are, testing and development environments, or for running applications in the cloud, extending data center to the cloud, and so on. You can actually deploy your server infrastructure to Azure virtual machines. Moving on from virtual machines, let's talk about containers. So for running multiple instances of an application on a single host machine, containers can be used. They are a virtualization environment. Azure Container Instances and Azure Kubernetes Service, they allow you to deploy containerized applications with fully managed services. We'll learn more about these in an upcoming slide. Note that there's a difference in between virtual machines and containers, though. And virtual machines virtualize the hardware, while containers virtualize the operating system. So that's important to understand to properly build the right resources for your workloads in the cloud. Lastly, what we have here is Azure Functions. Azure Functions, with them, you can create event-driven serverless applications with really no coding required. It is a compute option. It doesn't require managing virtual machines or containers. In case of Azure Functions, an event wakes the function. So it is triggered by an event. And the event removes the need, or the function removes the need to keep resources such as virtual machines or containers provisioned. So you really don't need virtual machines and containers to be around for your functions to work. Azure Functions are ideal for running code in response to events like REST requests, timers, or messages from other Azure services. They automatically scale with demand, so they're very much suitable for fluctuating workloads. And they can operate in a stateless mode by default or in a stateful mode. The stateful mode is also known as the durable functions. And apart from VMs and containers, there are other hosting options that you can use within Azure, like the Azure App Service. You might want to explore that. It enables you to build and host web apps and RESTful APIs without managing infrastructure. With the compute done, let's move to networking, because that's the other core service as part of Azure. So when we say networking, we are basically talking about Azure virtual networks and subnets. Now, these facilitate communication among Azure resources like VMs or web apps, databases, as well as between these resources, internet users, and on-premises client computers. Azure Virtual Networks provide capabilities such as isolation and segmentation, internet communications, communication between resources, as well, including on-prem as well as Azure resources. And they can also route and filter network traffic. And you can link virtual networks together with virtual network peering. Virtual networks support both public and private endpoints. Public endpoints have a public IP address and can be accessed from anywhere in the world. Private endpoints exist within a virtual network and have a private IP address from within the address space of that virtual network. Then we have VPN. A VPN provides a secure connection over the internet. It allows private networks to safely exchange data. Azure VPN Gateway connects on-premises data centers and individual devices to Azure networks, as well as it links Azure networks together. It encrypts data in transit for security and supports both policy-based and route-based setups. Moving on, we talk about Azure Express Route. So this lets you extend on-premises networks into the cloud over a private connection. It basically creates a private link between your on-premises networks and Microsoft's cloud services like Azure and M365, avoiding the public internet. It offers secure, fast, and reliable connectivity through various network types, such as IPVPN and point-to-point Ethernet, facilitated by a connectivity provider. Express route might get costly, but then that's a very good secure solution if that's needed. And then lastly, as part of network, we have Azure DNS. And now this is a service that hosts your DNS domains using Microsoft Azure's infrastructure. Allows you to manage DNS records with the same tools and billing as your Azure services. It offers benefits like high reliability, fast performance, enhanced security, customizable virtual networks, alias records, and so on. So that was network. With that, let's get into storage. So Azure offers cloud-based storage, which is scalable, reliable, and designed to handle high volumes of traffic. It ensures data safety and quick recovery during outages. And to use Azure storage, what you first need to do is create an Azure storage account. This Azure storage account provides a unique namespace for your data, and it's accessible globally via HTTP or HTTPS. Storage accounts come in tiers, standard tier or premium tier. It caters to different storage needs. Now, while setting up a storage account, you choose its type and redundancy options, like you might want to choose locally redundant storage or geo-redundant storage. There are a variety of options as far as redundancy goes. You choose these to meet your availability and durability needs, even in failure scenarios. Secure access and data replication across data centers or regions, safeguard against local disasters, ensuring the data remains accessible during outages are all the benefits that you get out of the redundancy that you might implement, and Azure storage in general. So Azure storage is versatile, supporting files, messages, tables, and more for applications ranging from file shares to mobile apps. It is utilized by both IaaS virtual machines as well as by PaaS cloud services. It accommodates structured data, something like a relational database, or unstructured data, which is more non-relational data. And it also supports virtual machine data, which is disks and files. And basically, Azure Storage includes Azure Blobs, which are scalable storage for text and binary data. It includes Azure Files, which is managed file shares for cloud and or on-premises deployments. Azure Queues, which is messaging store for application component communication. Disks, which is storage volumes for Azure VMs, Azure Tables, which is NoSQL option for structured non-relational data. So that's the core services of Azure. With that, let's get a little bit into other areas, and basically focusing more on containers and Kubernetes in this slide. Now, containers are increasingly favored for packaging, deploying, and managing cloud applications. Azure Container Instances, that is ACI, provides the quickest and easiest method to run containers in Azure without the need for managing virtual machines or using complex services. Containers provide startup advantages as compared to their counterpart virtual machines. With Azure Container Instances, you can launch containers in Azure within seconds. You can run Docker containers on demand in a managed serverless Azure environment, and Azure Container Instances can schedule both Windows and Linux containers with the same API. They're ideal for use cases that fit within isolated containers, such as straightforward applications, task automation, that kind of things. The top level resource in ACI is the container group. It is a collection of containers that get scheduled on the same host machine. A container group is similar to a pod in Kubernetes. So that's containers. But for scenarios where you need full container orchestration, service discovery across multiple containers, auto scaling or coordinated app upgrades, for that, what is recommended is the Azure Kubernetes Service, or AKS as we call it. Kubernetes, as we know, is an open source system for automating deployment, scaling, and management of containerized apps. AKS makes it simple to deploy a managed Kubernetes cluster in Azure by taking on the operational workload. So it's basically a managed service. And so Azure oversees the health and monitoring and maintenance. An AKS cluster comes with an automatically set up control plane, which Azure provides as a managed resource. When setting up an AKS cluster, you determine the quantity and size of the nodes, and AKS handles the deployment and configuration of both the Kubernetes control plane and the nodes. AKS nodes run on Azure virtual machines. You can create an AKS cluster using, say, the Azure portal, the Azure PowerShell, or the CLI, or template-driven deployment options like Azure Resource Manager templates, Bicep, or Terraform. AKS supports advanced features such as advanced networking configurations, Entra integration, monitoring via container insights, and so on. And couple uses or use cases for AKS include, say, migrating your existing apps to the cloud or building a complex application that uses machine learning. You would want to further explore the core concepts of containers, AKS cluster management, and workload deployment to further your learning. So let's move to the next topic, which is Azure DevOps and development tools. And let's learn about some services that offer end-to-end software deployment lifecycle management, while also understanding how to deploy and manage web apps and serverless functions. So DevOps, as we know, is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to your end users. And having said that, Azure DevOps is a set of services that gives you the tools you need to do just that. These are tools to help you better the team collaboration, automate build processes, version control, testing, package management, and so on. With Azure DevOps, you can build, test, and deploy any application, either to the cloud or on premises. And Azure DevOps can be integrated with different kinds of work management tools, such as Jira. So what does Azure DevOps provide? Right? It includes a range of services covering the complete development lifecycle. It has Azure boards. These are agile. These are for agile planning, work item tracking, visualization, reporting. So the Azure Boards tool can be used for all these things. Azure Pipelines is a language, platform, and cloud agnostic CI/CD platform. It supports containers or Kubernetes. Azure Repos provides cloud-hosted private Git repos. Azure Artifacts provides integrated package management with support for Maven, NPM, Python, package feeds from public or private sources. And then Azure Test Plans provides an integrated, planned, and exploratory testing solution. App services and functions. Now let's look into a couple key components here. Azure App Service is an HTTP-based service that offers easy creation and hosting of web apps and APIs with automatic scaling and deployment from GitHub or Azure DevOps without having to manage infrastructure. And you can code in your favorite language. In app service, an app always runs in an app service plan. That plan is what defines a set of compute resources for a web app to run. Azure App Service provides built-in authentication and authorization support, so you can sign in users and access data by writing the least code in your web app, RESTful API, mobile backend, and Azure functions. You'd want to further understand how it can help you create, maintain, and deploy web apps more efficiently by learning further about how the app service works and how to create and update an app. You can explore configuring app settings, scaling apps, use of deployment slots, discover app service networking features, and so on. Then we move to Azure Functions. This is a cloud service available on demand that provides infrastructure and resources needed to run your applications. Functions provides serverless compute for Azure. You can use functions to build web APIs, respond to database changes, process IoT streams, manage message queues, and so on. Azure Functions offers a set of event-driven triggers and bindings that connect your functions to other services without having to write extra code. For example, say if you want to process file uploads, then you run code when a file is uploaded or changed in blob storage. So that's kind of a quick example there. But Functions provides many hosting options for business needs and application workload. Durable Functions is an extension of Azure Functions that lets you write stateful functions in a serverless compute environment. You'd want to review Azure Function samples provided by the Microsoft provided in the Microsoft documentation, and you can get started with creating your own functions. So I think that's a very good resource, the Azure Function samples that you can go explore. Next, let's gain a better understanding of Azure's cloud-based identity and access management service. We'll also learn how to secure resources by assigning roles and permissions. So let's start with Entra ID. In further learning for Entra ID, you'd want to learn how to configure it, including features like Microsoft Entra ID join and self-service password reset, the SSPR. Now, the Entra ID join devices are the ones that are joined only to Microsoft Entra ID, requiring organizational accounts to sign in to the device. With Entra's SSPR feature, users can independently reset their passwords, and this definitely helps reduce calls to the help desk. Entra ID comes in various editions, the free Premium P1, Premium P2, but the free edition is included in the Azure subscription. Now, I want to talk about conditional access because that is a very good feature of Entra ID. It allows or denies access to resources based on signals. And these signals include something like who the user is, where the user is, or what device the user is requesting access from. So with conditional access policies, your access is based on certain conditions being met. Conditional access policies at their simplest form are if-then statements, like if a user wants access to a resource, then they must complete an action. You know, um, an example would be if a user wants access to an application or service like M365, then they must perform MFA or multi-factor authentication to gain the access. And you have to note that conditional access policies are enforced only after the first factor authentication is completed. Um, so let's also briefly understand the differences between Entra ID and Active Directory Domain Services, which is the ADDS on-prem. Now, the two serve different identity management needs. While ADDS is a directory service for traditional network-based applications, Entra ID offers a more comprehensive identity solution, which is optimized for web applications using HTTP and HTTPS. Another distinction is that Entra ID relies on modern protocols like SAML and OAuth. It includes federation services, has a simpler flat structure as against the ADDS for users and groups. And unlike ADDS, Entra ID is a managed service. It reduces the management overhead. With that Entra ID dive, now let me get into RBAC. RBAC, or role-based access control, it is also a security method. It basically is an approach to identity and access management that restricts access to only those who need it based on their roles. It allows for detailed and specific control over who can do what. So it gives you that granular um, way to manage your roles and access. So RBAC is applied through the use of role assignments. And basically, role assignments control how permissions are enforced. It is the process of binding or attaching a role definition, which is known as a role. So attaching that to a security principle, and a security principle could be a user, a group, a service principle, managed identity. So you do that at a particular scope. That is for the purpose of granting access. So it is basically the role, the service principle, and then the scope. It is created with those three elements. It is the who, what, and where. You grant access with a role assignment by combining these elements. You create a role assignment to grant access, whereas you remove a role assignment to revoke access. So it works both ways. Um, a role definition is a collection of permissions. A role lists the permissions that can be performed, such as read, write, and delete. A security principle represents a user, group, application that you would want to grant access to. And this is not just for people. An application can be a service principle that has access to another resource within Azure. And then the scope is a way to constrain where the permissions are applicable. So scope represents the level where the access applies, or the set of resources that the access applies to. Um, and then there are built-in roles and custom roles. So built-in roles are predefined by Microsoft with fixed permissions, and they cannot be altered or deleted. They are ready for assignment without any further configs. Custom roles, however, can be tailored by your organization, to fill out specific needs, which are not covered by the built-in roles. And creating a custom role involves defining a set of permissions from a list before you assign it to someone or something. So that's pretty much about identity and access management. With that, let's get into some database solutions or data management solutions. So Azure SQL database. Now, this is a scalable cloud-built SQL database. It offers limitless storage and serverless compute. It is ideal for high-performance applications like transactional systems, finance, and sales, or sales order management. It is based on the SQL Server engine, which allows easy migration and use of familiar tools and languages. Azure SQL Database is a fully managed PaaS or platform as a service. It automates database management tasks such as upgrades, patching, backups, and monitoring. It supports both relational and non-relational data types. It includes, graphs or JSON, spatial, XML, and has advanced query processing for high performance. Azure SQL Database offers two purchasing models. It is the vCore and the DTU, and that is to define and scale performance easily with built-in high availability, automated backups, and maintenance. Deployment options include single databases, which are mostly for isolated scalable applications, or elastic pools to share resources among databases, offering dynamic scaling, optimization, global reach, and monitoring insights for workload analysis. Then we have Azure Cosmos DB. This is a versatile database. It is designed for the AI era, as Microsoft says it. It supports NoSQL, relational, and vector data models. It's a fully managed service that delivers high performance, scalability, and availability, and makes it suitable for a variety or wide range of applications, say from like AI assistants to global apps and IoT telemetry. Azure Cosmos DB has the ability to handle diverse data needs, including real-time personalization and peak load management across open source engines like PostgreSQL and MongoDB. With its global distribution, automatic scaling, and low latency, Azure Cosmos DB provides a good or a robust data infrastructure for applications, or I should say modern applications. It takes care of administrative tasks and ensures cost efficiency with serverless options. Then let's look into a couple solutions that transform data into actionable insights. We have Azure Data Lake and we have Azure HD Insight. Now, Azure Data Lake is a scalable data storage and analytics service that allows you to store and analyze petabyte scale files and trillions of objects. It offers the flexibility to debug and optimize big data programs, starts instantly and scales on demand with pay per job pricing. Azure Data Lake simplifies data ingestion and storage. It accelerates analytics with batch, streaming, and interactive capabilities. And it supports a wide range of processing and analytics across various platforms and languages. It integrates with existing IT infrastructure for seamless data management and governance, and works with operational stores and data warehouses to enhance data applications. Azure HD Insight can be used for a variety of scenarios in big data processing. It can be historical data, data that's already collected and stored, or it could be real-time data, data that's directly streamed from a source. So HD Insight is a managed full spectrum open source analytics service. With this, you can use open source frameworks such as Apache Spark or similar in your environment. It's designed to handle large volumes of data with high speed and efficiency. And then we move on to Fabric, which is fairly new, something that was announced last year. Fabric is a complete cloud-based SaaS platform for data and analytics. It integrates various Microsoft tools to simplify every step of data and analytics processes, including data integration, data engineering, and data science. It is comprised of components such as Power BI, Data Factory, Synapse Real-Time Analytics, and these are just a few. There are some others as well. Lastly, on this slide, I have Microsoft Purview. Purview offers a unified approach to managing your data estate. It emphasizes on data governance, security, and compliance. It streamlines the oversight and protection of data across on-premises, multi-cloud, and SaaS environments, with tools for automated data discovery, classification. Um, it provides a detailed map of data assets, a glossary for easier discovery, insights for sensitive data management, and real-time data sharing capabilities. Some of the key Purview solutions include data governance with features like unified data map and data catalog, then data security with solutions like data loss prevention and insider risk management, and then also risk and compliance, for which we have tools like audit and e-discovery, records management, and so on. So that's the data stuff for you. Next up, I have security and compliance. And as part of this, let's dive into Azure's unified infrastructure security management system. We'll also learn how to enforce organizational standards and assess compliance across Azure resources. So starting with Defender for Cloud. Now, Microsoft Defender for Cloud is a tool for overall security posture management and threat protection. It is a cloud native application protection platform that safeguards cloud applications against cyber threats. It offers DevSecOps for security management at the code level across multi-cloud and multiple pipeline environments. It also provides cloud security posture management to prevent breaches and provides cloud workload protection for servers, containers, databases, etc. The Secure Score feature in Defender for Cloud enhances your cloud security posture by consolidating security findings into a unified score. And this allows you to quickly gauge your security status. The higher the score, the lower the risk. Or the higher the score, the lower is your risk level. The Defender for Cloud overview page within the Azure portal provides a unified view into the security posture of your hybrid cloud workloads, helping you discover and assess the security of your workloads and also to identify and mitigate risks. And then there is the Microsoft 365 Defender portal, which helps security teams investigate attacks across cloud resources, devices, and identities. Lastly, Defender for Cloud is being integrated with Microsoft's Defender XDR solution of late. So this capability provides improved tools to protect cloud-based apps and to respond to threats. So that's important to note. Then moving on to Azure Policy and Azure Blueprints. So let's talk about policy first. Azure Policy enforces organizational standards and assesses compliance, supporting governance for consistency, regulatory compliance, security, and cost management. A simple use case is, say you want to restrict resource deployment to only certain regions. Then you implement Azure Policy to do that or to achieve that. It has a compliance dashboard for an overview of your environment's compliance state. You can set rules for managing non-compliant resources, such as denying changes or logging actions, and you can remediate these resources either in bulk for existing ones or automatically for the new ones. So that comes in handy. And policies are implemented through policy definitions that specify compliance conditions and actions. And they are grouped into initiatives to manage scope and compliance evaluation. Then Azure Blueprints, it basically helps standardize cloud deployments. Blueprints facilitate you to set up a repeatable settings policy or policies for new subscriptions. So Blueprints enables the quick creation of dev test environments with security and compliance configurations. Unlike Azure Policy and ARM templates, Blueprints orchestrate deployments declaratively using resource templates and other artifacts such as resource groups, ARM templates, policy assignments, role assignments. Blueprints start in draft mode and must be published before assignment to a management group or subscription. And note that in July 2026, Azure Blueprints is slated to be deprecated, and we are supposed to migrate existing blueprint definitions and assignments to template specs and deployment stacks. That's probably going to be the new way of doing it now. So with that, I move on to monitoring and diagnostics. So Microsoft has integrated Azure Monitor, Log Analytics, and Application Insights into a unified service for comprehensive monitoring of applications and their dependencies. Azure Monitor tracks the performance and health of Azure services, allowing for data management, alert setup, and activity logging. It monitors both Azure and on-premises resources across applications, VMs, and databases. Azure Monitor offers automated alerts for thresholds and can take corrective actions, which is great. Diagnostic settings within Azure Monitor customize data collection and destination. It enhances resource operation insights. Azure Monitor is accessible via the Azure portal, Azure CLI, PowerShell, or even the REST API. Log Analytics within Azure Monitor provides in-depth analysis and troubleshooting through log query execution. Azure Monitor also supports data export for integration with third-party tools or ITSM or IT service management systems. Lastly, Application Insights. This focuses on application performance management. It tracks user interactions and identifies bottlenecks to improve application efficiency, reliability, and quality. And then last, but definitely not the least, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, AI empowers amazing new solutions and experiences, as we know, and Azure provides services to get you started. Talking of AI services, you can develop innovative applications with Azure AI. Azure AI is a collection of AI tools that automate tasks like language processing, image recognition, and search without requiring deep AI expertise. These tools can be easily integrated into web or mobile apps and enable capabilities such as speaker recognition and AI enhanced search. For example, Azure AI is used to quickly identify endangered animals in images, a task that used to be slow and inaccurate in the past. So key AI Azure AI services include content safety for detecting harmful materials in texts or images, language service for summarizing texts, classifying information, extracting key phrases, or the speech service for converting speech to text and vice versa. AI search and custom vision for enhancing applications and tailoring image recognition. Azure AI services are pre-built. They are accessible via APIs and they are hosted on Azure. They come in two resource types based on your development needs and billing preferences, but they can be set up through the Azure portal. Once a resource is created, you can build applications using REST APIs, SDKs, or Visual Studio interfaces. And then turning our attention towards Azure Machine Learning. Now, you can build, fine tune, and train custom AI models grounded on your own data. You can use this enterprise grade service for kind of end to end machine learning lifecycle. So it is a cloud service or platform that enables data scientists, developers, and DevOps professionals to build, deploy, and manage machine learning models efficiently. It streamlines the entire project lifecycle from data preparation, model training, and evaluation to deployment and management while emphasizing responsible AI practices. With Azure Machine Learning, users get access to centralized data management, on-demand computing resources, automated machine learning, that is AutoML, for model optimization, and visual tools for pipeline creation. The platform supports machine learning operations, ML ops. It offers open source interoperability, integrates with common frameworks for ML flow, and provides built-in tools for fairness and explainability assessments, ensuring high-quality, business-critical machine learning applications. And then lastly, we have Azure AI Studio. Azure AI Studio is a unified platform that simplifies creating, testing, deploying, and monitoring generative AI applications and custom copilots, which is kind of the trend right now. It provides a seamless development process right from ideation through to production, emphasizing responsible AI practices. Azure AI integrates capabilities from various Azure AI services. I mean, the studio integrates capabilities from various AI services, including pre-built models from Azure OpenAI, Meta, NVIDIA, and Microsoft Research, along with or alongside a vast selection of open source options. Developers can also train models with their own data. It enables a code-first approach via the Azure AI SDK and CLI, and thus is designed to be accessible to all developers and promotes collaboration with shared resources. It supports scaling, continuous monitoring, and refinement of projects. It offers everything needed to rapidly and securely develop generative AI solutions within a single enterprise-grade platform. So yes, go get your AI hats on. So with that, finishing up here, I hope the session was of help. I touched upon just a few things though for you to get started with, but let's review our key takeaways. So if you're fairly new to the cloud, definitely master the basics, but don't stop there. Get further into exploring Azure. Choose your areas of interest and pursue a focused path for advancing your cloud skills. I cannot emphasize enough how invaluable hands-on learning is. So definitely want to do that. And as they say, cloud is for everyone. So if you're just starting out, do not get overwhelmed in your cloud learning journey. Take it slow and steady, or steady. You can do it. So with that, I am good. And thank you so much for listening to me. And thank you, Dwayne, for the opportunity. And happy learning to everyone.
Yes, great session. Thank you, Sucheta. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody listening in on Global Azure. And enjoy the event on the 18th, 19th, and 20th of April. Among many in the community, I think there's about, Give Me Cloud Talks, I think we've got about a dozen sessions over the 18th and 19th. We don't have any on Saturday, but there are many going on across the world. So go to globalazure.net and you will be able to find all of the user communities and links to their sites and as well as their sessions. So thank you again, Sucheta, and thanks everybody for tuning into this Global Azure session.
Thank you.